So just before we get into the content for today, I'd just like to quickly acknowledge country as we are meeting today, connecting a community from across Australia. I'd just like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of these lands and their continuing connection to land, waters and community. We pay respects to the people, the cultures and their elders past, present and emerging. As coincidence would happen, we for Inside Industry number 2, I'm currently calling in from beautiful Meanjin here in Brisbane, and having an absolutely lovely time, up north, which is a bit different from Sydney, where I'm currently based. Lovely. So moving on today, so just to do a really super quick background of the API. So the API was founded 20 years ago. It's our 20th anniversary year this year, which is something that we're very, very excited about. And essentially the API's purpose, it's the reason that we exist, is to deliver a sustainable supply of highly skilled power engineering professionals. So we are essentially tasked with by our members to find them a graduate workforce that will effectively meet the challenges of Australia's energy future, which, as we all know, is something that's in flux and is changing currently. So it's a very exciting time to be in the power sector, and we at the API work to create a young workforce of amazing power engineers. Also in this top photo, you'll be able to see some of our participants today. Steph is in the bottom right corner, and Jim Riley is also standing behind Steph there as well. And on the far left, we've got our CEO, David Pointing. And I do believe that top photo was taken at the TJ Effney trip in 2023, I think, unless I'm mistaken. So that was a very fun experience there. Okie dokie. So what we'll do today, so this will be our agenda for the session. So what we'll be rolling through, we'll just knock over a couple of really quick housekeeping things first. Then I'll introduce our theme and our amazing guests for the day, and then we'll jump into the session. And then from there, at the end, we'll have some time for your questions for our amazing guests as well. So as we go through the day, you'll notice in this Teams meeting that the Q&A function has been enabled. So as we go through today's session, please jot down all questions that you have throughout the day as we go along, and once we get to the end of the session, we will try our absolute best to answer ask all of your questions to our amazing guests when we get to the end. Pardon me. Wonderful. So just before we jump into the housekeeping stuff, this is just a quick look at the API's members. So this is all of the companies that we're currently working with in the Australian power sector. As you can see, these companies come from all over the country and cover a lot of different areas of the power sector as well, which is wonderful. So so that's there for your reference. Awesome. So just jumping into the housekeeping. So I've already gone over the session being recorded. As I also said, the Q&A function is enabled, so make sure you're jotting down your questions as we go. And just one last thing with the Q&A function, if that's not working for you, that's completely fine. If you just want to chuck your questions into the chat function, which should be enabled, then for everyone, so that if you just want to put your questions in there, we'll ask your questions from there. Lovely. So what we'll move on to now is introducing our incredible guests for the day. So, Daisy, what I'll get our guests to do is just to give a quick introduction of yourselves, who you are, where you're working, and just some more background on yourselves there. So to start us off, Whitney, do you want to start us off, and we'll work our way along from there?
Yes. Hi everyone. So my name is Whitney Ottley and I work at Transgrid. So I manage the grad and the intern programs, which also involves some recruitment as well.
Wonderful. And do you want to go next for us, Jodie?
Sure, thanks Cam. I'm Jodie Lynch from Horizon Power in Western Australia. I'm actually on Yari country today, up in Broome where I live. Really excited to be here, and I also have the graduates and trainees and apprentices within our organisation to look after. So stoked to be here.
Well, thanks so much, Jodie. And Zoe, lucky last.
Hi everyone, my name's Zoe Seibold. I'm dialing in today from Darumble country, which is in Rockhampton, Queensland. I'm a member of the early careers team here at Energy Queensland, and I'm responsible for the graduate program. We're launching a new Amplify program, so this is a program for undergraduate students. We also have work experience and internships as well.
Wonderful.
And happy to be here.
Lovely. Thanks so much, guys. And just before we jump into the questions, I'd just like to know from everyone, just a bit of a fun fact, if you've got a go-to karaoke song. Whitney, do you want to go first? Is there a song that springs to mind for you?
Maybe something Whitney Houston.
Lovely. Yeah. Great. Yeah. Bit of a challenge, that one. Whitney's
Homage to my name.
Lovely. Jodie?
Cam, I'm a huge fan of Eye of the Tiger. I was born in 1973, so when I was trying to get revved up for my basketball games, that was my go-to. Yeah.
Oh, lovely. You can't go wrong with Eye of the Tiger. Zoe?
I too am a massive Whitney Houston fan, Whitney, so I would definitely be going for one of those ballads. But I don't mind the duet, the Grease Lightning one.
Lovely.
That's pretty fun too.
Grease Lightning, yeah, actually I've forgotten about it. That's a really
Summer Lovin', I think it's called.
Oh, yeah, gotcha. Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah.
Amazing. All righty. Well, what we'll do now is we will jump into the questions that we've got for our incredible speakers today. So the first question that we have that I'll get all of our guests to answer. So just before we dive into the specifics of grad interviews and applications, I'd just like to ask all of you guys if you could outline how your grad program application and interview process worked, just because, particularly speaking from my own experience when leaving uni, a lot of the process with grad applications can be quite and unknown for a lot of students leaving university. So if you would be able to just let us know that would be marvellous. So I might pick on someone else to go first, so I'm not just picking on Whitney the whole time. But Jodie, do you want to kick us off?
Sure, can do. So I tried to chunk it into 7 steps, but there's probably a few in between that, just morph. But basically, I'm starting with knowing your why, because that's more important than the process, because throughout those steps, if your why isn't clear to you, you're probably going to struggle, or we may not find the right match. Number 2, I've put stay connected. That includes organisations like API, look, all this wonderful stuff that they offer you. Could be ESA, Engineers Australia, but also media statements for government. So I'm in Western Australia. They've just had another election, another Labor government. What are they up to? What projects are coming up? Number 3, ask others, your peers, older people, younger people, people connected to different industries. Ask. 4, apply beyond. And I say apply beyond, I just checked we've got 11 roles on the board. I think 3 don't say the word engineer, but I know engineering could be part of that ideal candidate. So apply beyond what you see. We do a traditional interview, face-to-face, very small and simple process, and that's in Bentley. And number 6, if you're successful, we go to due diligence. There's some back and forth and some romance, I guess. And then eventually we get to the offer, and then it gets busy. So there's I think there's 7, maybe 8, but any questions I can talk later about it.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, Jodie. And we'll jump over to Zoe next.
Great. So at Energy Queensland, our graduate program actually has a 5-step recruitment process. So I'll just take you through each one of those steps. So step 1, we have the application form. We want you to think of your resume as a ticket to securing yourself an interview. So we recommend applying STAR framework to your cover letter and your resumes. And this framework just allows you to highlight specific examples and outcomes. Our graduate program also has some eligibility criteria. So our shortlisting is conducted based on applications that meet these specific requirements. And we do clearly articulate that in the graduate recruitment job ad. So for us here at Energy Queensland, we look at GPA, residency, citizenship, In particular, we're open at the moment for our graduate campaign starting 2026, and we have specific engineering degrees that we're calling for. So these can change from time to time. We work with the strategic workforce business plan to ensure that we're onboarding the critical skills that we're needing for the future. We also have engineering qualifications that are recognised by an institution within Australia, and the completion of your degree. So we're looking for candidates that have completed no more than 2 years from the program commencement date. Step 2 is online assessments. So if you're successful through that initial shortlisting, you'll be invited to complete our online assessment. This includes behavioural and cognitive testing, along with a video interview. And so when we're reviewing the online assessment part of our recruitment process, we're guided by best practice and industry benchmarks here. But we also have a consistent panel and team members that are involved in every stage of our recruitment process. So this means the same people will be reviewing your applications from that initial application all the way through to panel interview. So we believe in reviewing each application holistically, taking into consideration every step of our recruitment process. Step 3, we have the panel interview. So we have a diverse panel. It's generally 3 to 4 members from across our business. So members from early careers team, recruitment and engineering. So tips here would be to research our company and familiarise yourself with our values and our visions, and maybe any current projects that we're working on related to the energy industry. Step 4, reference checks. Make sure here that you're providing professional references. So this means someone who is currently or previously been your direct supervisor. We also understand that you may not have had a lot of work experience. That's okay. You may like to ask your supervisor, lecturer or professor. That'd be fine, but it's got to be someone that has directly supported you during your studies. And step 5, we have a pre-onboarding program. So this is where my role in the early careers, I connect with training and development specialists to facilitate professional skills programs. And this is all about getting our successful candidates work ready. And it's also an opportunity where you'll join your cohort even prior to starting with us at EQL.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, Zoe. And moving on, lucky last head of the class, Whitney, do you want to take it away?
Sure. So we have a few different processes depending on who you are. So if you're someone from the general population, then you would firstly submit your application, which includes your resume and an optional cover letter. Then you'd move to online testing, which is cognitive testing. So it's thinking about numeracy and literacy and abstract reasoning. And then you'd move to an online video interview. So that's where you're chatting one way with the computer screen. Then we have our assessment centre. Our assessment centre has a group activity and then 4 mini interviews with technical people within the business and people and culture representative. And then we have our pre-employment checks. So things like medical, ensuring that you do have the degree that is required. And then offer is the last step. So that's for our general population. If you are an API scholar that does not do an internship at Transgrid, you would be fast-tracked immediately from application to assessment centre. So you skip the online testing and the online video interview, which is a great perk. And if you are an API scholar that is an intern at Transgrid and you perform well, you skip the process altogether and you just move directly from internship to graduate program.
Okay, wonderful. That's all very exciting stuff. Lovely. So we'll move on to the next question now. And as I've said before, any questions from our audience that does come up from that first set of answers, please do chuck it into the Q&A function. We'll get to those a little bit later on in the session. But now for our speakers, question number 2. So what does your graduate, what rotation, sorry, excuse me, everyone. Let me try that sentence again. What does the rotation look like for your graduates? How long does the graduate program run for? And how often do graduate employees change teams and finally, what teams do your graduates tend to work in as they go through the grad program? I do apologise. It was a fair bit of a bit of information sort of bumping up against each other there. Jodie, do you want to lead us off again?
Sure, Cam. So our program at Horizon Power is potentially a little bit longer than the standard. So it's a 3-year grad program with a rotation every 6 months. And the reason it's a bit longer is one of those rotations is required to be in a regional area. So that could be, if you think of the WA map, Kununurra, Broome, Port Hedland, Karratha, Carnarvon, then we skip everything and we pick up Esperance. It doesn't mean that we can't look at individual circumstances and make it a bit of a hybrid out of our Bentley office, but traditionally that's where we see acceleration in the skills and the maturity of our engineers. So 6 rotations, 6 formal leaders, standardised objectives, 1 mentor throughout that period, and very small group. So you would be the only graduate, for example, generally within not so much a division, but within a particular group learning. So we don't have large numbers. And essentially there's a little bit of, asset management, project delivery, some future energy systems and modelling, technology and cyber standards, and a new section now called remote communities for some of our very, very remote systems. So that's our rotation in a nutshell, Cam.
I was going to start speaking with my microphone turned off. A very classic mistake. Thank you so much, Jodie. We might jump over to the wonderful Whitney next, and then we'll go Zoe after that. So Whitney, do you want to take it away?
Yes, so our program is 2 years, and so graduates can roll off the program anytime from 18 months into their post-program role. So as part of the 2 years, there are 4 rotations, so each rotation is 6 months. They can vary greatly on what the responsibilities are per placement. So there are around 60 placement options that someone can go into at Transgrid as a graduate in engineering. So I won't list them all, but they could be in things like design, development, construction, maintenance, network planning, network operations, commercial and contracts, just to name a few. And so some are more office-based, some are more site-based, and we have a hybrid way of working.
Okay, wonderful. And Zoe, lucky last, take it away.
Thanks, Cam. Yeah, so our program sounds very similar to Horizon's graduate program in that we are the same duration. So we are a 3-year journey, and with 6 rotations. So that's rotations every 6 months. We do, within our rotations, we ask that our graduates complete a minimum of 2 years. And part of that 2 years is that we have core rotations. So these are specific engineering teams that we've identified within our business that we believe are going to give our graduates the foundation, understanding and knowledge. At that 2-year mark, should they wish to apply for other opportunities in the business, we know that they've had those foundational rotations. So for us, they are planning, design and protection. And one of the reasons, similar to Horizon, that our program does go for 3 years is that inclusive to the planning, design and protection being core rotations, our graduates must complete a field rotation. So this is, a lot of people might not know, but the majority of Energy Queensland is actually poles and wires. So it's imperative for our graduates to kind of go out there in the field and have the opportunity to actually understand how the work that they're doing, designs, decisions they're making in the office, actually connect to the work that we're doing out in the field. And similarly to Horizon, again, you do get a mentor. So that's a one-on-one partnership for the life of the 3-year program.
Do you mind if I ask Zoe, and I'll get you to answer this question as well, Jodie, just with when you mentioned that all grads get a mentor, and what does that mean entirely? Well, what is the role of a mentor for a grad then?
Yeah, I'm happy to start with that. So the one-on-one, so it's a relationship between the mentor and an experienced engineer within our business, and it's the role of the mentor is to really guide the graduate and provide their knowledge, skills and experience from the business in terms of what the career path could look like. So that's the graduate coming and saying they might have a specific idea about where they want to end up in the business at the end of the 3 years. So the mentor is there to kind of support them through that journey. On the other side, you know, we may get a graduate that comes in that has absolutely no idea. So the mentor is able to provide that one-on-one support to help give them an understanding about different areas of the business, helping them choose rotations to go to that it can align with their career aspirations.
Wonderful. And Jodie?
Yeah. Very similar, particularly in the sense that that mentor is freed up a little bit more from, say, the day-to-day supervision and the requirements of the objective setting, and it's a little bit more fluid. One thing we've been pleased to see is that in our first round of mentoring matching, we didn't have any, we had one regionally based person with enough experience to put his hand up, 3 to 5 years experience. He was in Kununurra, the rest were in Perth. But what we found now is we've been able to match 2 regional mentors who are working on different projects, but because they care enough, they're going to get some really good value out of that relationship, and potentially we'll see some of the engineers within the grad program step into engineering roles outside of the traditional grad program. So an example would be a Kununurra engineer currently works on projects that are conducted outside of his region, but in the customer and community division, so more retail focused solutions. So we're starting to see a bit of creep in terms of scope of who wants the engineers. Technology, for example, we want more. Well, you need to support us with your mentors as well. So everybody's getting a little bit more involved rather than traditional electrical. That's it. We're sort of bridging that gap a bit.
Okay, wonderful.
I should jump in to mention Transgrid does also have mentors.
That sounds great.
I forgot to mention at the time, but yes, they do have mentors, and it's a similar arrangement to the other organisations. So it's career development focused more than technical skills in terms of what they are guiding the graduate on.
Okay, lovely. And with career development, sorry, do you mind if I ask what that entails, just a bit more broadly?
Yes, definitely. So it could be identifying strengths and weaknesses and how they can fill those development gaps to achieve their career objectives, for example. It could be how to network in the business or in the industry, for example. It's very broad, and I suppose we don't dictate each week what the mentor and mentee are discussing, but we can give guidelines around things that we think might be useful for them to discuss. And those are a couple of things that might come up.
Okay, wonderful. Lovely. All righty. Thanks so much, everyone. So we'll move on now to our last question, to question number 3, pardon me. So, and this will be sort of the big one, I suppose, for all of our attendees today. So having seen lots of students apply for your respective graduate programs, what are the attributes of excellent candidates? So what did their written applications look like, and what did they do in their interviews and other stages of the application process to really stand out from the other applicants? So just because I don't think Zoe's gone first, I'll jump to Zoe to go first. Lovely. So whenever you're ready, Zoe, take it away for us.
Great. Thanks, Cam. So yeah, look, the candidates that have really stood out to us have been, they've really thought about their resume and their cover letter as being their ticket to getting an interview. And so through their resume and their cover letter, what they've done is they've shared specific experiences, their skills, their capabilities. They've really highlighted themselves as the best fit for our graduate program. So they've really ensured that they've read our advertisement, they've taken notes on what we're looking for in terms of specific attributes, and then they've highlighted them throughout their resume and cover letter. I'd also encourage you here to do your research and find out what early career programs are looking for in graduates for some of those specific attributes as well. Some other really key performers have been where they have referenced our business. So they've referenced Energy Queensland, and they've understood some of the challenges and the goals that we're working towards, and then they've specifically aligned their attributes, skills and experience to support those challenges and goals that we have as a business.
Wonderful.
Not so good? Did you want me to touch on not so good?
Oh, yeah, actually, sounds good. Why don't we touch on that briefly?
Let's do it. Yeah, so some shockers that we've seen come through. So like this is where I've seen cover letters addressed to the wrong company, referencing the wrong job title. I'm a bit particular, so I'm looking at punctuation and spacing. It's really attention to detail. So make sure you're using your spell check and have someone else review your resume and cover letter before you hit that submit button.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it. That's really helpful there. I do have just one other quick question for you, Zoe. You just mentioned with excellent applicants how they outline their experiences.
Yep.
Do you have any examples of specific experiences that that applicants have referenced? Just generally speaking, is there something in particular that you would look for there?
If there's been previous experience within the energy industry, obviously that's going to be a plus, or any industry that's got transferable, that we can transfer the skills and capabilities and experience into energy.
Okay, wonderful.
Yep.
Lovely. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Zoe. That's really wonderful. And yeah, it's always good. Spell check. Grammarly is an excellent app as well on that as well. So make sure you're taking advantage of those kinds of tools. And to this day, I still make sure, but yeah, particularly with important pieces of written work and resumes and applications, reading it out loud to yourself is also something that I, to this day, have found really useful. So all of those little things really do matter. Lovely. We might jump over to the wonderful Whitney. Are you happy to go next?
Yes, definitely. I think Zoe has done a very great job of describing what's great and what's not so great. So I will just support everything she said there and maybe add a couple of other things. Generally, you'll see that it's optional to have a cover letter. I would highly encourage you to still include a cover letter, even though it will take some extra time. Some hiring managers will want to see a cover letter, even though it's optional. And if you don't include it, they will be disappointed. So highly recommend doing that if you can. And it's just another great way to exemplify how you are demonstrating the attributes in the job advertisement, as Zoe was referencing earlier. So something that I see often in resumes that isn't so great is they'll provide a laundry list of all of the skills they have. They'll just list things off. They might say Excel skills, communication skills, project management skills, and they don't go into any detail around how they are demonstrating those skills. So what I would recommend is having first perhaps a title like Excel skills, and then underneath that title you would have develops written reports using pivot tables and VLOOKUPs on a daily basis, as an example. Just to be able to demonstrate that skill is really valuable for the recruiter. Also, really long resumes are not something that I think is particularly necessary for someone early in their career as well. So generally, 2 pages is enough. And if you've got more than that, perhaps you might want to look at streamlining a little bit. Also, if you can, try to use metrics in your resume and cover letter as well. So, for example, if you can put like dollar figures or percentages in your resume, that's amazing. So I'll give you an example of what I mean by that too. So you could say, I successfully negotiated a system enhancement that saved the company $2,000 and it reduced negative feedback by 60%. As an example, that's really tangible for the recruiter to see. Obviously, everything can't be put into metrics, but where possible, that is really great. Some things that you can avoid as well would be including your photo on your resume. You definitely don't need to include your photo. And I think lots of crazy formatting is not necessary either. So sometimes I see resumes that are produced by like Canva or something like that, and that can look really nice, but the formatting can go very wrong when the formatting is very complex. So what I'd recommend is just designing your resume in Word, and then transferring it over to a PDF so the formatting doesn't move around when it's submitted. Those are some tips and tricks. In terms of interviews, do you want me to jump into that now?
Yes, please. Well? That's something.
Yeah. So I think Zoe mentioned this earlier as well. So STAR method is an amazing way to provide the detail that we want in an interview answer. So I think the two issues that I would see generally with candidates responding to interviews is either lack of detail in their response or lack of research. So to ensure that you've got good detail, use the STAR method. So situation, task, action, result. So you can Google that if you haven't heard of that before, and just make sure that when you're preparing, so what you do when you prepare for the interview would be look through the job advertisement, write down all the capabilities that are listed in the job advertisement, and then underneath each of the capabilities, write a question that you think would be asked relevant to that capability, and then make a STAR response to that question. And if you do that for all the capabilities, I think you're going to ace the interview. So that's what I would do. What else? In terms of attire, I would recommend for a graduate role to generally come in business attire. So that might be a suit for a male, or I mean, really, suit for anyone is great, or a dress perhaps for a woman, and then research as well. So heavily researching before the interview was really important. So to keep it fun for the research, because I know it can be kind of dry, what I recommend is going on YouTube and just like watching videos every night that are produced by the company. That can be a really interesting way to learn about an organization visually, and also through, I suppose, verbally. Yes, that's what I would recommend.
Okay, lovely. That's really interesting. And yeah, the STAR method as well, something that's really, really helpful. So can't recommend that enough. All righty, and we'll jump over to Jodie next. So take it away for us, Jodie.
Well, the ladies have stolen a couple of my my hot topics too, in, you know, presenting that you're the right fit and the metrics. I love all of those ideas. So particularly for me, you might know your attribute or your skill, as we said, it might be whatever. But if you're not linking the attribute to an example and to the value that you provided, we don't get it. And I would go to examples in your current world of work. So that could be one of the examples we had. A summer intern was working at Coles, had quite a lot of responsibility in that role. We loved it because we could understand what those skills were, and we could visualize him as he was sitting there. So it doesn't matter if it's coaching a sporting team, or mentoring at university, or supporting family with extra duties. Find something that you're confident that you can give us the picture of what that meant and how you can apply that to your role. The other one we're very big on is, we call them stick values, so safety, team, integrity, customer. If you're poking around a website, as Whitney said, and you're researching, and you know that they're our values, and you know that you've asked somebody and they said they're 20% of what you get assessed on for your annual performance appraisal, you're going to use that as your framework. So you'll still use the SAO or the STAR method, but you might pick a safety example because you know there were 40 incidents of bats causing outages in a particular town, and you really start to think, well, how do I link my example to that? I'm not yet working on the network with the bats, but I've done a first aid course, and this is what happened when I took a group of kids on a camp. So find your link to what's important to us, and it will flow more naturally. I have a real issue with toes. I haven't seen a lot of toes in interviews, but I have seen them in the workplace at times. No one wants to see toes, so don't show toes, but definitely go for something that you'll be relaxed in, comfortable, and avoid the logos, because all we're going to see is your logo, and we're not going to see your personality and capability shine through.
Wonderful. Okay, thanks so much, Jodie. I do have a quick question for all three of our incredible guests. You have mentioned, all of you have mentioned research as being a very integral part of preparing yourself, both for the application, the written process, and the interview. Aside from companies' websites, is there any other sort of areas where you can find sort of data or specific projects that that potential employers and graduate programs have been working on? Is there anywhere else that springs to mind that that our students can look at to find some more information there? Zoe, did you want to go first here?
Yeah, I as both Jodie and Whitney were sort of referencing the research, I was thinking, it's not just the websites. You can find NG Queensland. I'm sure you can find the TestGrid and Transgrid and Horizon on socials as well. So see if we've got a TikTok account. Find us on Instagram, find us on Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. We have an Energy Queensland profile on LinkedIn, and we're sharing, that's where we're sharing stories about what we're doing within the community. So that's another place that you can look to find out more about the business.
Wonderful. Jodie and Whitney, sorry, was there anything to add outside of that specific to you guys?
Yeah, a really good tip is some companies will engage the community in either customer research or surveys or consultative committees. Poke around those things. It may not be that if you're in Perth, you can't really be a customer of Horizon Power because we're regional. You would be Synergy or Western Power. But send an email, ask them to be involved. You'll probably get an idea of how they respond to emails, what their retail approach is, and what's important to them. The second one is, because we're government owned, go to Hansard, the parliamentary website that will show you all the questions that are asked in Parliament. Was there a contentious issue about an outage in the Pilbara? What happened as a result of that? It may be historical, but it gives you an idea of what's important to the company, depending on who it's owned by. And if it's private, you can obviously try and seek some information around their structure. So be a little investigative in that, but also show that curiosity, because that will show through in your discussions.
Brilliant. And Whitney, was there anything else to add?
I think another good resource is Prospool or Grad Connection as well. A lot of graduate organisations have accounts on those web pages, and they have a lot of interesting things that we don't necessarily have on our website either. For example, we delve a lot more into like office tours and site tours and things like that on our Prospool page that we don't include on our normal Transgrid website. So definitely check that out as well.
Okay, brilliant. And I've got just one more very quick follow-up question for all three of our guests, just regarding interviews specifically. I was just a bit of research this morning, and I read a very interesting statistic, pardon me, that particularly regarding job interviews, interviewees basically communicate a lot better and communicate a lot more to a potential employer through their body language and how they carry themselves, almost more than what they say. I was just wondering, particularly regarding particularly in the modern world of online and in-person interviews being an option, is there any, you've all covered attire, which is really helpful, but is there any other tips so far as body language in online and in-person interviews that you could pass on today?
Jodie, I'm happy to jump in with that, because obviously probably a lot like everybody now, sometimes it's a combination. If you're using technology, I would obviously do that practice run. I would ensure that there was nothing confidential on a board behind me. We were having a laugh about that earlier, Whitney, with a webinar with a candidate, and sometimes that can be a breach of security in itself. So be aware of what's behind you. I have a Moodle that's coughing, which is probably unprofessional at the moment, but try and control the controllables as much as you can, and then have your backup plan, because your backup plan is what's going to show us that if you get asked a question, for example, that's a little bit close to the bone and you might get emotional, you can come out of that and we will see more about you through that process. The other one with physical interviews is whatever your little book of calm is in your world, you need to engage it, because when we meet you, if you're very tensed up because it's all about this one interview, it's going to come across. So whatever works for you, it could be a song, it could be a mantra, it could be a person that you talk to or text before you come in. The sun will come up tomorrow, but you've got to engage that world of knowing that everything will be okay. It's just an interview. Because if you don't, we will feel that as well.
Okay, wonderful. Zoe and Whitney, is there anything to add to that?
I think they're all really great tips. You know, one thing that I've kept in mind just from my own personal experience with going to interviews is taking the approach of, this is just another conversation. So yes, it's really important, and you know, I need to present my best self. I need to be looking professional. I want good body language. It is just a conversation between myself and a couple of other people. They're just wanting to get to know me the best that they can. And, you know, I'm also wanting to get to know more about the people that are interviewing me and also the business. So I think if you can take that mindset, that may help with the nerves just a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, that is good. That's really helpful. And I will say from my experience as well, I've never been into a job interview where I haven't been so nervous. I thought I was going to catch fire. So I guess definitely like being nervous before interviews, it's 100% normal for everyone.
Yeah,
but
it's normal. And can I just also add, like, we understand, like, we understand that graduates are fresh out of university, so we're not expecting you to be, you know, the expert in the technical part. We're actually, you know, we're wanting you to showcase and show us more about your interpersonal skills. So again, we're just wanting to get to know you a little bit better.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Zoe.
That's okay.
And Whitney, was there anything else from you?
Yes, I think a good strategy to take as well if you are feeling nervous is just to slow down the chat a bit. So you can ask them to repeat a section, or you can answer the question in halves, for example, because you'll notice a lot of the time the question will be double-barreled. So you might say, can I answer this first bit first and then get to the next bit next. You could take a note as well, or you could ask for 30 seconds to think as well. Those things are in your control and can make it a bit more of a stress-free experience.
Lovely. Oh, that is wonderful there. Lovely. Awesome. So that actually wraps up the questions that we have lined up for today. But what I would like to do now is open up the floor to our wonderful audience. So yeah, does anyone have any questions for Zoe, Whitney and Jodie about anything we've discussed today, anything we might have missed, or any questions you might have yourselves?
Hey, Cam, I hope you don't mind me unmuting.
Yeah, no, go for it.
I had a question for Zoe.
Sorry, Jim. Sorry.
You're right. All good. What's the minimum GPA that EQL look at in their first step of the 5 steps?
Thanks, Jim. That's a really good question. So our minimum requirement is a GPA 5 or above.
Thank you.
Yep.
Tim, you're on mute.
I've done it again. I apologise. Sorry. Dear, it's been embarrassing. Anyway, Ryan Bradley, you had your hand up next. Are you happy to come off mute and ask your question?
I can do that. Can you hear me all right?
Wonderful. Yep, loud and clear.
Yeah, I've just got it written down. Given the increased focus on renewables and all that kind of thing, are there any skills or technologies us grads should be learning as we prepare to enter the workforce?
Look,
sorry,
you
Zoe,
go, Jodie. You go. You can have it.
Okay. The one that we have a lot of challenges with in the Kimberley and our networks is batteries. And we actually had a graduate who did a 6 months rotation in Broome and ended up spending pretty much 80% of it doing things like opening up the enclosure, sitting there with the consultants and the other technical guys who would fly in, and she was learning the craft of that and has almost created for herself a position in that specialist activity, and is now working with TAFE on materials for the crew, because the technology is moving faster than the syllabus, if you like. So stay really open and agile on that question that you've just asked, because it's a fantastic question, because most of us will have some tips and tricks about specific technology that's been in the system for quite some time, but it's the smaller stuff as well, the actual control systems and the remote alerts that are going off and all of these amazing, wonderful bits of information that we still don't have all the answers to.
Wonderful. Zoe, was there anything to add on that?
That's really great, Jodie. And I was just going to say also just keeping in mind that through our grad programs, we're going to be developing you further in those technical skills and capabilities. So at the recruitment process, we're really, yes, we're looking for what experience you've had, but, you know, it's more than likely that you have just come out of university. So we're looking for you to really flex and shine on those interpersonal capabilities and attributes. And then through the graduate programs, that's where we'll work with you to finesse and fine tune those technical skills further into what the business projects and the needs are.
Lovely. And Whitney, was there anything else to add?
I was just going to support what Zoe said. Agreed. We don't ask that you come with any specific technological system backgrounds or anything. We're happy to train you on all of those things. Of course, if you have that, that's great. Some of our leaders would love it if you had power factory training, for example, but it's definitely not essential.
Do you mind if I just a real quick follow up to what Ryan has asked there? Is it useful for candidates to come into the sort of the application process with sort of specific personal interests in mind? If there's something specific about the power sector that sort of that they really enjoy learning about at uni, for example, is that information that you guys would like to hear at the interview stage? Whitney, sorry, yep, pardon me.
Who do you want to go first, Cameron? Yeah,
No,
look, absolutely.
right.
You know, like that's all part of it, isn't it? That's all part of getting to know the candidate, getting to know them a little bit more. What are their interests? What are they passionate about? You know, in particular, people talking battery storage, and you know, EV vehicles, EV chargers, all of those other cool and interesting things that are happening as part of the renewable energy focus at the moment.
And what I would add to that is we saw a step change in our grads' appreciation for the challenges of renewables once she'd been working in the heat with a battery in the Pindan, and her worldview changed. So try and inform yourself with a variety of sources is what I'd say, because there's a lot of renewables narratives that are not necessarily always sharing the full picture is what I would say, and what does it look like in a remote area or a regional area. So try and get a mixture so that you're coming in there with some real insight into what some of the challenges might be that you're going to help us solve, rather than renewables are just fantastic, which we know is not quite true on every occasion.
Wonderful. And anything to add there, Whitney?
Yes, I'd just say I think openness to experiences and learning would be the key thing that I would suggest you have. So while it is amazing to have interests and passions and knowledge in one particular area, and that's definitely something that we'll love to foster, we also want to ensure that you are open to exploring other things as well. So we can make you a very well-rounded graduate at the end, and you have so many different career opportunities that you can pursue rather than just one particular thing.
Okay. Wonderful. Thanks so much. And then moving on to our next question, which is the API's incredible engagement manager, Miss Stephanie Somerville. What's your question, Steph?
Hi, thank you. Thank you to our panelists for sharing the amazing answers to these questions. One thing that I wanted to bring up, and I'm not, you know, I come from a very positive viewpoint of AI, but how do you tackle AI use and applications? Do you have like something that picks up AI, or you know, do you encourage it or don't encourage it? Like, what are the pros and cons there? Because we use it in work and we use it safely, but you know, how do you guys deal with that?
That's a really good question, Stephanie. And I think, you know, if you're not getting with AI, you're going to get left behind. So at the moment, we're working on finalising our policy at Energy Queensland. We're currently not using it, but we understand that candidates will be out there and really keen to use it. So I personally have seen some absolute shockers when it comes to video interviews. I've had people, yep, I got the thumbs up from Whitney there. Just coming to mind is where a candidate has been reading on their screen word for word what the response is to the interview question. So we're not silly. We sort of know how to pick up on those things. So I definitely discourage anybody from doing that. Again, just reiterating, we want to know more about you. So just be yourself and make notes beforehand, but yeah, please just be mindful that we will be able to tell when you are using AI and you're reading word for word off your monitor or second screen.
Lovely. Anything else to add, Whitney and Jodie?
Yes, I think to add to that, I often see people using AI, and the issue with AI is that it doesn't make unique responses, which is what we're after. We want you to be tailoring it to your experience and how your personal experience is suitable for the role. But if you use AI and just pop in the question, generally there will probably be thousands of other candidates doing the exact same thing, and so you all have the exact same answer. And so it becomes very obvious very quickly. And then it kind of makes that whole selection process or the selection measure useless, because we really can't tell who you are from the next person. So we really want you to, it's a disadvantage in the end, I suppose, to use it, because then you can't shine. So for video interviewing, I'd recommend not utilising it in that way. You may be able to use it in a different way that ensures that you're still showing your experience. And I think it could be really useful for preparation for interviews, for example. So perhaps you could put the advertisement into AI and ask them what questions you think they might ask. That could be a great way to use it as an example. But I think the key is that it is meant to enable you, not do the work completely for you. But yeah, Transgrid is very for AI, I suppose. We have it integrated into all of our Microsoft applications as part of our Copilot initiative. So it's definitely something that we use in the business already. So we understand that it's really valuable.
Yeah, I would support what Zoe and Whitney have said, Stephanie. So we're still a bit cautious, and the other GTAs in Western Australia are just having a little bit of a chat about it. But essentially, if a manager supports an employee using it under certain conditions, we do see it. But it generally at this stage is not something we'd want to see in the process of trying to find out who a candidate is.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, I think that's really awesome there. Lovely. And moving on now, Dominique, you have a question? Feel free to fire away.
I do. Can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear.
Perfect. I have a question because everyone is saying that it'd be perfect to show your experiences and stuff like this. Obviously, being a mature age student, I've got lots of experience in a different industry, totally, like sales and marketing. But in terms of like internships and stuff, would you like to see us do different types of internships to actually gain experience in different industries? Still electrical, but maybe go one with Transgrid, another one with Ergon or PowerLink, and then at least by the time we apply for a graduate program, we actually have the stepping stones of the different experiences in different industries, so we know what we want to do.
It's a really great question. Sorry, Whitney, do you want to lead us off?
I think that would be an amazing approach. I think what we want out of a graduate is someone that's very well-rounded and can potentially go into senior leadership positions. That's the aim of our program, is that they have broad experience, I suppose. So if you do have that already before even joining the graduate program, that would be incredible. But of course, it's not an expectation. If you have done one internship, for example, that's still really valuable. But even better if you've got the opportunity to pursue a few.
Lovely. Zoe and Jodie, anything to add to that?
I've just, mirror here what Whitney said. I think in particular, our programs we do have some eligibility, as I said, so we're a little bit more specific in terms of the disciplines that we're looking for from the participants in our graduate program. So our new Amplify program has a connector. Has a connector stage now where we are kind of broadening that out a little bit in terms of opening an opportunity to people that may be studying outside of an energy-related discipline. But at this stage, our grad program is looking at power-related or energy-related disciplines specifically.
Wonderful. And Jodie?
Yeah, I would support that. And what I would also say is, going back to my previous point about apply beyond sometimes. If you're really keen on a particular company and it doesn't seem like a traditional path, or it doesn't have the word engineer in it and it's a project manager role, but it's going to be advantageous. I've met people in commercial roles at Horizon Power who also have engineering backgrounds and just found themselves enjoying that pathway and kept going. So don't shut yourself off from anything. The extra experience is totally a bonus, and people would love to have someone with, you know, that previous knowledge of how the world works. So it's an asset that you've got, and always view it in that way.
Lovely. All righty. Thanks so much, guys. So just quickly as well, just before we move on, and just to go just on like sort of ways to gain sort of different experience and knowledge. If anyone on the call today is not a part of the Power Up community, so this is a part of the API where we welcome all students who are passionate about power across a number of different disciplines to join. It's a really great way to connect with other students who have an interest and a passion for the power sector, and it also comes with a lot of different excellent resources and other webinars you can join as well to learn more about the power sector as well. So that's something to keep in mind if you're not already a part of our Power Up community there. Lovely. Now, just keeping an eye on the time, we will need to keep it moving. Just quickly before we wrap up today, we've just got some quick API reminders that we have as we move through April and into May. So just some reminders from the API. If you're a third-year Power Up Scholarship recipient, so your placement preference email is going to be going out very soon. So it's a really good idea for you guys to start thinking about which one of our industry partners you would like to complete a summer placement with, because we will reach out to you soon regarding that. We've also got National Careers Week coming up in May, so that will be running from the 12th to the 18th of May this year. So we'll have lots of career content to engage with coming from the API. Also in May, and this is very exciting, we'll be having our gala dinner in Melbourne on the 22nd of May. So this will be our 20th anniversary gala dinner, which is a very exciting event for us. That's coming up in May. And then we've also got International Women, an International Women in Engineering event happening in June. So there'll be more information to come for that. So keep your eyes peeled. We've also got National Science Week coming up in August. That'll be running from the 9th to the 17th of August. So another chance to engage with our careers content regarding National Science Week. We'll also have our scholarship celebration. So this will be coming up in August at a date that's just being narrowed down at the moment. But our online scholarship celebration is a scholarship that will celebrate all of our new inductees into the Power Up Scholarships. That'll be a very exciting event. And finally, the TJ Effney Award applications will be opening in June to July as well. So that'll be something to keep an eye on. So the TJ Effney, just quickly, is an award that's run by the API with the Effney family, and it's an opportunity for students passionate about the power sector to travel with us at the API to the Seagrey conference and basically connect with industry and different partners at that conference there. So it's a really exciting award. So keep your eyes peeled. The applications for that will be going out in June. Lovely. So also here got a QR code to connect with us. So by scanning the QR code, you'll be able to get access to the API newsletter as well as what's on, so you can keep an eye on what is happening with the API as we go forward this year. Lovely. So we'll wrap up the session there. Could I get everyone to give our incredible guest a big round of applause, either real or virtual, however you want to do it. But a massive thank you to Zoe, Whitney, and Jodie for taking the time today to come and speak to us. It was a really amazing session, some really great tips and tricks there.